Shut the fuck up.
You're sitting in the police transport van after a protest?
Shut the fuck up. In a holding cell with your comrades?
Shut the fuck up. Cop knocks on your door?
Shut the fuck up.
Texting on an unsecured device?
Shut the fuck up. Pulled over by the cops after a protest?
Shut the fuck up. Cop just asking about your day?
Shut the fuck up. Feds, call your mom?
Tell your mother to shut the fuck up.
Now, repeat after me. When the cops come calling, what do you do? Shut the
That's one instance. Here's another.
Real nigga talk.
Welcome to the Keep It Clean one-off series. We're here. Nico, Ray. What's going on, my brother? How you doing today?
Oh, we back. We are back.
We back and we here, man. We got a topic and we finna chop it. Talk to me, brother. What we talking about today?
The question of the moment is there a responsibility or an assumed responsibility that comes with fame? Is there, and more so specifically, do you take the responsibility of those that follow you once you become famous?
I'm gonna say yes to both. What you think?
I'm gonna say no. I don't think there's an assumed responsibility because I think it does also partially depend on how you became famous and what you're famous for.
That's a fair point. Okay. So I would say yes, due to the fact that we understand that society places celebrities in a place of like role model or leadership, whether that's right or wrong, that's the reality of what it is. And with that, if you become one, you will be placed there in some shape, form, or aspect. And with that, you need to be careful with what the fuck you're doing. For me,
I would say if the key words in what you said was society placed you there.
Mhm.
And so if you put me here by your own volition, and I think part of it as far as what you became famous for, I think my line in the sand, if you're an entertainer and your job is to entertain, the role model aspect or the assumption of responsibility for who chooses to follow you might be a little bit more skewed versus somebody who became famous. You're trying to be a politician, you're trying to be a social activist or something along those lines. And even within the entertainment aspect, I delineate from, if you're a podcaster or if you're a talk show host,
Mhm.
sure, you have that responsibility because you're talking on specific pieces. If you are an actor, a musician, someone that plays sports, I don't think it's the same because you just happen to be very good at this one piece of thing, and then people followed you because of that. It wasn't from your thought process necessarily. It wasn't from you were trying to create this. You were just trying to excel at something that you're putting out from what your vision
Yeah.
is, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, no, I disagree, man. I think like even if you are a musician or a basketball player or some of that sort, like once you've gained a following, there's responsibility in that. Period. Like people, and whether it's healthy or not, like whether you have control over it or not, just the reality of the situation is you are able to say something and galvanize people to do something. And with that responsibility, like with you being able, with you having that type of power, you have to be responsible with it. Like I understand what you're saying in the sense of like, I didn't ask for this, and I get that, but we here now, and you have it. So with it, what do you
When you,
do?
s- when you say responsible, what do you mean by that? Like responsible for when you do say something, or the
Yeah.
responsibility is the expectation that you need to say and do something?
Oh no, I would say that the responsibility is like with what you say when you go to say something. You got to be careful in what you say, how you present whatever it is that you're going to present, type of thing. Like not to the point of like you have to do all these checks and balances of like, oh, is this politically correct, or is this or is this that? But like you do have to have some type of understanding, like, okay, this is going to go out to a mass of people that will see it, and something may happen due to it. So let me take that into account before I make this move or say this thing, and just gauge it that way. I think I think you should do that, especially if you're a celebrity.
Give an example. And first, before we get there, what what qualifies as fame
That's a
or
great
celebrity
question.
for interchangeable
That's a
words?
great question. I don't know today, honestly, because like anybody is a public figure now, so I'm not
Mhm.
necessarily sure. But I would say probably over 1,000 people like genuinely interact with you or your content of some sort on a like consistent basis, like upwards of like 10 to 15, 20,000. Like once you get into the numbers of like you can live off of this, like off of these people just tapping in with you. If it's like once it gets to an amount of that stature, I think you can kind of like once you don't have to have a job because people know who you are. For me, that's kind of like where that is.
Okay. So once you've established a market, I guess to an
Yeah,
extent, like
yeah,
you have,
it's pretty
okay.
much for yourself. Yeah.
So once you get the market, give me an
Mhm.
example of what that responsibility looks like.
Let's see. Oh, I'll give you an easy one, right? So, like for me, um, I smoke vapes. You shouldn't smoke vapes. I need to stop smoking vapes. But for the
Mhm.
time being, I smoke vapes. But and this platform isn't, we don't have like we're not famous type shit. But with the understanding of like that I do have a platform, I don't smoke vapes on camera. Or I try my best if I am gonna smoke while we're recording, that it's not on camera. Type of thing.
Okay.
So like that's kind of what I mean. Like and that's just me personally on some like I don't want to put this message out type of thing. But in the same sense of like this is going out to a whole bunch of people, kids might see this, etc. So let me at least like not bring my vices to this type of thing and push it. Like, oh, he's like somebody might like what I say and be like, oh yeah, he's smart and I think he's cool or whatever, whatever. And oh, he smokes, so I can smoke. That's cool. It's like, nah,
Mm.
you shouldn't be doing this type of thing. Like I
And
would tell you not to do this.
okay. So when you're speaking on responsibilities, are we just talking about mental capacity responsibilities?
What you mean?
All right. So why I separated it, and I think it's two that you could have a different version. If you are an athlete,
Mm-hmm.
what you do with your body at a high level as a professional has nothing to do with your thought process. So if you have someone that just they say, yeah, you put me here. I just happen to be really good at football. I could throw the shit out of that ball
Mm-hmm.
accurate, or I could catch it. I'm a running back.
Mm-hmm.
And then you put me in a role model situation. I'm only a role model to you because of how athletic I am. It had nothing to do with my think pieces. It was
Mm-hmm.
just strictly my physicality.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. So now when I speak, you're holding me to a standard because I'm only on this platform based off of the production of the yards I gained, not so much the speeches I gave.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, bro. If you speak into a multitude of people, you gotta be responsible with that podium. You know what I mean? Like I get it. Like, bro, I'm not famous for talking. So why do y'all have me up here talking? But if you're gonna accept to go up there and speak,
Okay. So except to go up there and speak, you talking like interviews? You talking about because that's why I asked that question. Is there an expectation for you to be engaged in certain things, like a movement, an ideology, or whatever the case may be? Like, okay, if you ask me a question after the game, and we're
mhm,
saying we're going with professional athletes, for example, where I think
mhm,
it's different than if you're a musician or a politician or something. If you ask me questions after the game, per my contract, MLB, NBA, NFL, I have to participate in post game interviews. Not by choice. I have to.
okay,
So if
uh-huh,
you ask me a question within that context and you gave one there and it's just like, man, I don't really worry about that. I'm just here to play the game, because by definition it still is my job.
mm,
I just want to be a football player. And it's like,
yeah.
oh, see, you should have been speaking about this, this, and this. This is the
Oh,
example you gave. You want it
oh,
like that?
nah. Nah. Like if you, I would want people to be more informed on certain things. Like if that's the case, like if that's what we asking, like if this is a worldly question or some type of political question or something, and they're like, oh, I don't really tap in with all of that. I just kind of focus on the sports and do my thing there. Personally, for me, it's kind of like, Like, you could have had a moment there to like get into something. But if you genuinely don't deal with that type of stuff, it is what it is. I don't place the responsibility on you to be like, oh, you need to be informed on this, and this because you're a celebrity. Nah. However, if you're gonna use your voice to speak on it like voluntarily, then yeah, I'm putting that responsibility back in you. That's gonna sit on you.
Because we do have that same example. Like Jordan was an example of that. Hey man, I don't get involved in that type of stuff. When they brought up the politics that was going on back in North Carolina when he was still playing, or Chuck saying, "I'm not a role model." Charles Barkley, I'm not a role model, and the standards of that moving around versus, or even down. So we'll take it off of an athlete, musician. I'm putting out an album from what I've seen, my experiences, and it's my responsibility once I get to this platform for the followers that I have, because you went and partook in what I put out by your own volition. So my responsibility is now to guide you. Is that the sentiment that you might have?
In a sense, yeah, because like you've amassed a following, so like you lead people, whether that be through the music, whether that be through whatever medium it is that you express yourself through. It's like once you amass a following of people, they follow you, and you have to be accountable to where you're leading people to go. Now, we can have debates on like what that is and if that's good or bad, et cetera. Like with Jordan and Republicans and Democrats buy shoes. I have my own issues with that, but I'm not finna jump down his throat about it. Like, it's what it is, bro. Like, does Jordan vote Republican? I'll never know. Like, do I want to go and check his vote records to figure it out? No, not really. So it's like I can only do, deal with that in the aspect I can. Maybe I don't buy Brett shoes. Maybe I don't participate in things that he has going on, but that's at the extent of that. I'm speaking more so in the sense of like, when you take it upon yourself to voice your opinion to that following, that's where the responsibility is for me. Like, I can, and to an extent, like with Charles Barkley a little bit, it's kind of like, I get it. I'm not a role model. Y'all just put me up here, this, that, and the third. But at the same time, you are a role model, whether you want to be one or not, because you're in the role. Now, you could be a bad one, and that's just be what it is, but you're a role model, bro. Like, you have millions of eyes on you at all times, and a good amount of them are children. You're a role model.
And I think that's where we have the separation in it, because I think the word responsibility automatically goes hand in hand in the perception with becoming famous or having a market. I think people assume or people project and place role model with you being in a certain status, and that may not be fair in my mind. Like, what did Joe say? You bought the music, not the nigga that made it.
But you did buy the nigga that made it.
No, you bought a piece of that person. You didn't buy that person. You bought a piece of that person. You bought what I put out in that moment. This was my perception. This was my life. You bought that portion.
That's me though. Like, as an artist, that's me. Like, that's why the separate the art from the artist conversation for me doesn't really, like, you said that. That was you. Whatever you was feeling, thinking, however you was getting it off in that moment in that studio, that's what you did. And however you felt about it, you felt good enough to mix it, master it, get it all engineered, prepped up, put the cover art together, do the whole thing, put the rollout together, and put it out and shoot videos. That's you. We're not, once you get the bugging, we're not going to be like, but his music ain't necessarily him. Folks be getting their ideologies off in the music. This is like your creative, unless you in this joint, like, this is a story that don't have nothing to do with me. I'm being fictional, and this is just like this is an artistic whatever. Most like rap and art, that's y'all. Especially if you writing it, that's you, fam. You wrote
Yeah,
that.
that's if you because if you're someone that just happens to be a great storyteller, or if you happen to paint a vivid image, no different than someone that's putting brush to paper or a canvas. You painted something. That doesn't mean it happened. Doesn't
No,
mean it
that's
was
what I'm
you.
saying.
Doesn't mean
If
it's
you
real.
That's what I'm saying. If you're in a space of like portraying this as like I'm telling stories, these stories don't necessarily pertain to me. Cool. I'm following you. That's not what most of these people are
It's a hard
doing.
line to draw out. Just
This
I
I'm
keep
just being
reminding you
factual.
that.
I'm just being factual. Like if we gonna keep it tall, if you are making music, especially for rappers, because that's usually what we talk about is rappers. So like if you're a rapper and you making music and the tagline is this is my life, this is me. I'm writing this, I'm doing like this is me. I'm giving y'all my life. That's what most of them say. Okay, cool. So once something hits the fan, we can't then be like, oh, all of this stuff that you told me was your life and you, that's actually not you. We're gonna separate that from you. How we do that? How we get there? Now, if you Nas and you telling me out the gate, hey, these ain't necessarily my stories. I'm telling you stories from the hood, then I get it. I understand that. But don't tell me like, oh yeah, bro, this is my real life. I'm giving you my real, this is all the real. And then soon as something hit the fan, it's like, oh, we gotta separate that. Nah,
Mhm.
nah. That you said it, you wrote it, that's you. You put it out.
I think that's a slippery slope because if we know for entertainers and even if we speak to rappers, it's difficult to say you're a role model and then at the same time we be saying people be having caps in their raps. So if you have cap in your rap and we know that's not really you, or we know that you're putting on an image where I can partially understand what you're saying. If you are putting on an image and you're putting that out there as a portrayal of this is who you are, I do get that to an extent. This portrayal, even if we expand backwards and it's not just the rappers, you bought into that. And that's what that like the rap piece I
But
can get because you're using words. And that's where I think I struggle on certain pieces. Like for entertainers, if your job is entertainment, entertainment does not have to be valid. I'm just trying
yeah,
to
that's
get you
fair.
to laugh, cry, feel something. So I'm being paid to entertain. If you are
Mhm.
going out here in a different aspect of it and it's like that's why I think the politicians, certain podcasts or certain social movements, certain things that you're speaking with the idea of let's have a common thought is a lot different than I'm being paid to get you into a feeling.
True. I think that's fair. But also in you doing that, like if we take it to a comedian, right? You have to use words
Hmm.
to do that. So
Hmm.
in whatever words you use in whatever picture that's painting, however many people is in this audience and what they may take from that, you hold the responsibility to that. Like if you base all of your jokes in like some anti-woman type stuff, you can get away with the whole, oh, bro, it's just jokes. I'm not really like that. I don't really think like that. But you just sat up here for an hour and gave off that to a whole bunch of people that may or may not know your day-to-day ins and outs of how you really do deal with folks and whatever, whatever. So all we have to go off of is this hour. But when we do go off the hour, you tell us, no, that's not me. We can't. Like it's like you trying to play both sides. You can't have it both ways. You either are on the stage, and if that's the case, like if you want to curb the backlash, maybe change the product.
I think the curbing of the backlash portion of it still would come down to the responsibility of the consumer, no? Because even as a comedian, you're a paid entertainer. So I put this out, kind of like what Chappelle said. You didn't have to click on my face. You
It's
you
true.
didn't have to click on me
It's
for
true.
for
But
you
not
to find out
everybody,
what I said.
yeah, but not everybody that saw what you said clicked on your face either. And that's where it becomes like everybody, like half of the stuff that come across the timeline, I'm not looking for it. It come
Hmm.
across. I see it. Like I seen it. Caught it because I can read. You know what I'm saying? So you
Right.
read it and you keep it moving, right? Or whatever. But you see somebody say something and you might reply. You might be like, yo, that was crazy. Whatever it is. But it's like the point though is the common denominator is you said it.
Is the responsibility not shifted to the person that put it on your timeline? right? Example, if Chappelle puts out a comedy special, he put out a comedy special specifically on Netflix. He's not tweeting it, he's not doing Instagram, he doesn't even really do social media. Somebody went and took that clip, which is not the whole thing. So
Mhm.
you trimmed it to whatever you had for whatever narrative that you had going on. You are now creating the rest of the picture yourself. And
Mhm.
then you put it out on that platform and Nick sees it as he's scrolling through his timeline. Is that not on the person that put it on your timeline and you had the conversation with them versus now trying to galvanize somebody against or for whatever small portion
I
of
get
a full package?
I get what you're saying. The at that point when I come in contact with that, the responsibility is on me to get the full context first before I
Mhm,
do anything. But that's how I treat myself.
mhm,
I understand that most people outside don't move that way. So it's like when you have these understandings and everybody knows these things, like it's not like anybody's not new to clickbait, not new to the internet and how it works and social media and folks running with narratives and all of these things. So it's like
mhm.
if you know that, just like me, and I'm not famous, then once you have the platform and you get the saying stuff and doing stuff, yeah, you should be aware of what's going on out here, which you are, because you know, because they
Right.
complain about it too. Like you also complain about these things. So it's like if you know that this is how this goes, why would you not be more responsible with your platform?
And I'm not saying I can understand there might be some responsibility, and I'm still on the side. It depends on what you do. I can't put the full responsibility on them because you're you're holding me to a standard just because you're not famous, right?
Not
Especially
necessarily.
especially if a market, and what I mean by that is like if a market comes and they galvanize themselves around whatever it is that I'm doing, there could be a possibility you and I right now say the exact same thing, but I just happen to say the same thing we agreed on in a setting that might have boosted my notoriety, and then I
Mhm.
rode that wave from there. Now I'm expected to take certain responsibilities just because you didn't become famous.
Yeah,
That's crazy to me because especially if that wasn't necessarily the goal. You are doing a job. Some of these people
but
are
it's
just
like
doing a job in
I,
fame.
I
If
get
that's
it.
your job,
I get it. But at the same time, it's like all of our actions, like all of the consequences that come from our actions, ain't necessarily like we don't get to pick them. You know, like we don't get to
mhm,
pick what we get from the circumstance. So it's like if that is a part of the circumstance, it may be crazy, but that's what it is. Like
and
you do
so
have that. Like
if
now
you
that,
clarify,
yeah, go ahead.
say if you clarify is like, hey, this my goal is not to hell. Some people we even see where Andre 3000 is a prime example. He doesn't even want to be famous. He
Mhm,
just happens to be really, really, really good at rapping.
mhm.
He doesn't want nothing else to do but just create music. We even got on
And you know
here.
what he does? You know what he does? He does that.
He does right,
He
but
does
he
just
says
that.
he does just that, and I'm following you, right? But in the same way where you're saying you're holding someone accountable, like this is the artist, separating the art from the artist. If he is even, we're even getting on him for saying you don't want to rap, and then we're still holding you to an expectancy to rap and say certain things because we want to listen to what you have to say, and he's just like, nah, I just want to play
Yeah.
the flute,
Yeah, but I'm
right?
joking. Like I'm playing. Like you know what I'm saying? Like to keep it clean. Like I'm playing. Like Andre, if you don't want to rap, bro, don't rap. It's fine.
Okay,
Like I have
see,
enough albums to listen to. I have enough songs. It's cool. I would just love to hear you rap because every time I do, it's amazing. But it's
and
not
I
like you
think
don't have a responsibility to me to rap no more. Like, nah, do your thing.
right, and what I'm more so getting at because where you might have a slightly different perception of saying like, hey, if you clarify this is all I want to do, you give more leeway. It seems like in the overall consensus, that's not the case. The way, like I said, the way they held Jordan to a standard, you do the Jordan LeBron thing. Well, LeBron's out here doing this
Mhm,
stuff for the people, for the public. He says this all the time. Jordan never did
mhm.
this, and it's like, but Jordan didn't do anything bad. He just chose not to participate,
Yeah,
right?
and
Like,
that comes down. I mean, that comes down to just like personal. That's just like personal preference type of thing. Like
okay,
who knows how many camps Jordan put together? Who knows how much, who knows? Who knows? Like, and did he make a school? No. Did LeBron make a school? Yes, that's great. LeBron school is a charter school, which we can talk about that too. But like, it's we can get into it about whatever, but it's like I don't put too much like stain on Jordan for not like making a definitive stance in a way, because it's kind of like, oh, I'm not. I take what Malcolm X said. I'm not looking to them for my political views and takes and all of that anyway. So that doesn't necessarily bother me. My thing is more so like, once you have the platform and you do use it to say things, you need to be more like, you need to be very aware of the shit that you say at that point. Like if you're
Okay.
actively being like, hey, I don't really want to get into none of that, and I use my platform to say, I just want to focus on this. That is what that is. I can't tell you how to use your platform. But once you start using it in the like, hey, not to say I can't tell you how to use your platform. I am telling you how to use your platform. I think you should be careful with it. But yes, let me clean that up for myself. Let me not double speak. But I am saying that, but in the sense of like, I'm not saying you have to speak on all of these things and you have to do this and you have to do that. One thing I'm asking of is that you be careful with the things that you do say when you use your platform. That's it.
Okay. So as a public, if you're going to hold that stance, do you believe that as a public we are fair in the assessment of that responsibility?
No,
Just in general.
no, because the public's too fickle. It bounced too many times. Like it go way too back and forth. So yeah, no, I couldn't say that.
And that's why I have a hard time myself putting that responsibility on it, because what suited you and I today could change overnight. And
That's
now
fair.
it's like, I can't believe you said this type of stuff. Like the nerve of you to say it, especially, I think for me, the struggle is more the context of, we don't allow famous people to grow the same way we would give the leeway of us non-famous people. So if I'm holding you to a firm fire for something you did 5-10 years ago, as long as it's not something like egregious, you made comments, or if it was just sticking to what you say and the aspect of the role model and certain actions, I'm holding you to comments of a particular time in the future.
I get that. I think and I understand that critique. And that's fair, because you do have to be understanding the context. Everything don't happen in a vacuum. As you know, I'm gonna keep that consistent. But I would raise you actually though. I think we allow celebrities also to be stunted in their growth for way longer than we allow regular people. Like celebrities can get away with some BS for a while.
Yeah.
Off the face of being a celebrity, off the face of, hey man, that's, they got, and it get explained away and explained away and explained away until Diddy. You know what I mean? So it's like, I see it working both ways in that a little bit. But I do see your point, but I don't want to negate your point though. I do.
No,
that is
because
fair.
you're also right. I would say you're right as well in that aspect, because we do see the Diddy's in a situation where they definitely abuse the power of being a celebrity. And I think he and those like him,
And the
even if
Chris
you didn't,
Browns and
because there's certain people where you leaned into it and took advantage of your following and your power. I might be more so speaking for those as just, or speaking from the aspect of, until you showed me specifically that, because that means you went out of your way to give that product to me for me to see visually. For those that are just, you were just doing your regular thing. And because also, even with the time frame, when I bring up the Jordan example, where they would hold him to a fire for how great he was so stellar, they're thinking of people like Ali. Muhammad Ali was going around being very vocal, but at that time, it was also heavily frowned upon to speak in such a manner, let alone not only just as an
He got his
athlete, but
title
just as
taken
a
from
young
it.
athlete.
Got his
Right.
title taken for it,
So
And
even if you didn't have the fear of doing that, Muhammad Ali was in his own isolated bag as
an
a
anomaly.
person.
Yeah, an anomaly.
And he was also pushing a culture and an ideology actively.
Specifically.
Where so even fast forward between when he was getting started, 70s, 80s, or not started, I'm sorry, when he was in his prime, he was vocal. Throughout the 90s, early 2000s to maybe around 2010, before social media really popped off, you we're only known for that small interaction that we got. So if I chose to, because I also ask that question when people say your silence sometimes add to the complicity. And it's like, all right, so we're holding you to a standard. It's like, hey, my job was to play basketball. There is no social media. So by the time you ask me about this political movement, even considering back then, because I think we struggle with that in hindsight, we will apply rules and rules of engagement that exist now to then.
Mhm.
And so now when we get here, any activity of the social media, I could get that in a social media presence, because I think of people like Vince Staples. We don't hold no responsibility to him really until he does something egregious. He is a funny guy. He also raps. He's the definition of the entertainer I'm speaking of. He does all the entertainment. And the crazy part is he's being him. There's
Mhm.
no fraudulence in anything that he's explaining.
Yeah.
And somehow
And
he has worked himself into an umbrella of, oh man, yeah, bro, shout out to Vince.
because he
So
spends
authentic.
because he takes that time to also poke at the system. Like he take the
Right.
time to go up to the Vince State or the Funk Flex freestyle, and if my Black Life Matter, stop killing. If my Black Life Matter, then protect the children and protect the women.
Mhm.
Like he takes his time on that podium to say those things. Like, I'm pushing this. Like, this is where it is for me. He doesn't necessarily shy from it. And if you ask him about it, he's gonna tell you.
Yeah.
And
And in that
so,
moment, that's where I think that I asked the general consensus of it, because he's saying something that you agree with. If you're on the opposite side and you don't agree with that, now he's failing in his responsibilities as a famous person to lead people. And that's why I asked the general public thing, do we
mm,
even hold that responsibility the same before I can put it on the onus of the person that became famous? Do we have the same, at least, accountability and leeway for understanding just down here as somebody that might be following that person? One of the greatest downfalls we ever saw was Tiger Woods. Not so
mhm,
much because of what he did. That was just the first time we knew anything about him. Up until that point, he was just a golfer. He
yeah.
was the
And
greatest golfer of all
he was
time. That was it.
what he call himself, a Kablasian?
You feel like we knew
Some,
nothing. And
yeah.
then the first time we got some is like, look at that. That's a terrible role model. I was like, bro, y'all brought my stuff to light. I was just swinging the club and whooping ass swinging the club.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, but see, it goes hand in hand, because like goes back to your original, like, society puts you in this position, because even with the Tiger Woods thing, it's like, bro, that's not none of our business. So like the whole fall from grace and all of that, it's like, okay, son cheated on his wife. Like, that's terrible. And that's, I hope they figure that out. But I don't have
You killed his
nothing to
career.
do. Yeah, type of
You-
like it. Well, I mean, he came back and won, type of shit.
Not really. He wasn't the same. We
He
know he
was
wasn't the same.
hurt. He was hurt.
Okay, all the brand endorsements he lost.
Yeah, true enough. True enough. But yeah, I mean, can Kia stand by a unfaithful man? Like, can we do? Are you really gonna sell this car if everybody? We know how folks look at cheaters. You got caught.
Yes.
You got
Y-
caught. You know what I mean? Like, you got caught, bruh. You know how this go. And Kia,
uh,
that van, there's women buying that van, man. I gotta put,
True.
it's a lot of mothers buying that van, and I gotta sit you up as the salesman, and you out here running out on your wife in the van.
And
Like,
that's where I think that's where it gets wild, because you're holding accountability to someone that didn't want it in the first place.
I get it, but you accepted that Kia endorsement.
It was because of me golfing.
Yeah, and you signed it.
My golfing didn't change.
Your golfing didn't change, but you are now a spokesperson. You have a certain, like, once you take on these types of things, you have a certain standard that you gotta
And,
hold up to. You're
and
not playing by
that's where
regular people rules no more.
and see, that's where I
You are
think the
famous.
fickleness exists, because I got these endorsements off of my physical abilities.
I get you.
You're holding me to something that they feel. This was an
I
in-house
get you.
conversation.
I get you. But again, it's like, bro, if you play basketball, that's all you want to do, and that is what it is. Okay, cool. I'd have made it to the league. I'm not wearing nobody. I got on Nike shoes. It's not no.
Mhm.
I ain't got no specific deal. I'm just kicking it. Cool. Once you take that meeting with Nike and they go, yeah, man, we're gonna give you the shoe. We're gonna put you in front of this. We're gonna have you over here, have you over there. You're gonna go over to the kids at this school so we can debut the whole da da da. And you sign the paper. congratulations, brother. You signed on the responsibility because now you are in front of a different thing that's not just your sport. You in front
I'm
of
not
a
mad at
pro.
that.
You in front of these products. You in front of these things, and all of these things have different audiences that ain't got
Okay.
that might not be worried about that sport or worried about your physical. They see you. They might
All
not
right. So
even know
before
that
there,
you know what I'm saying? Like they see you.
I understand. I do understand that. I'm not mad at that at all. Before there, because you're only getting these brand endorsements because of your notoriety. Before the brand endorsements, when you're
Mhm.
just you got famous off of whatever it was that you're doing. Because I'm not mad at you if you hold certain people, especially like in again the you are getting famous strictly off of what you're saying. Like that is the sole reason why you are here. You are a speech giver. You are a clip machine. You are here because you
Right.
are a talker.
Right.
I do get that, right? Because people are listening to you and they're engaging in what you say, whether it be to see if he's saying something, he or she is saying something valid, or he or she is saying something where it's like, man, I hate when they talk. I want to see what other nonsense they on today. Cool.
Yeah.
That is the implied, and I think that's where the trickiness comes for me when it just because you were famous. Like, what was he famous for? This dude's a NASCAR driver. He's been turning left his whole life. Now you surprised when he went left with a comment? What do you want us to do, bro? You feel
That's fair. No,
me?
I get that. I do get that. I get that. But I like again, like for me, I start from the premise of like you shouldn't even be having these folks in this type of pedestal in the
That's
first place.
that
I'm
part.
with you. I'm with you. But I also have to like deal in the reality of that is where they are. Like I can do my best to like be like, yeah, man, I like Jay-Z songs. What the fuck does he know about politics? Like I can feel like that. You know what I mean? Like in my own, but I know other people go outside and be like, yeah, nah, if it's between 5 bands and dinner with Jay, I'm taking the dinner. I have to, I have to take that into account. So it's like, if that's the case, bro, when you hop up and say
Yeah.
something, you gotta be careful, man. You have to be careful.
Because and it is a tricky line because even I can acknowledge it's like, bro, how many times in the last year or two have we seen breakups happen because of Usher and Chris Brown? How many times have we seen
You know?
you, you paid $1,000 to end your relationship is essentially what it
It's
looks
like
like.
you have this much power, bro. You have enough power to make somebody spend a rack and jeopardize their whole home life. I think
Is
you
that
should
not
be.
on them?
It
Is that
is,
not
but
on
it is. I'm not saying it's not. They have a responsibility in this as well. But what I'm saying is it's both. It is both. They have a responsibility in who they follow, and you have a responsibility in how you lead.
I am a singer,
I get
right?
you.
Let's just
I get
pretend
you.
that he doesn't have the history that he has, just in general. I am a
Okay.
singer because
Okay.
okay, Usher
Let's
Usher doesn't have nearly
let's
as
make
much of
him
a
let's
mouth
make
that
him
Chris
Leon.
does.
Let's make him Leon Thomas.
Leon
Let's
Thomas is an amazing singer. He does what he needs to do, and then I offer a package that you willingly get to pay for because you're only in my presence because you paid. You
mhm,
paid.
mhm,
This isn't you playing it on the DSP and the whip, nothing like
mhm.
that. You paid to come and see me. At what point is the accountability
There's
on
nothing wrong
you?
with that. There's nothing wrong with that situation. I don't think Chris Brown is misusing his platform by having that as a thing that's able to be done. I think that's fine.
Okay.
Nothing wrong with that. Like, hey,
Is
this
it
is a
is
way
it
for me
on
to
him in the
engage.
divorce process at all? Like or if someone
No,
breaks up, is that okay, just checking.
no,
Just making
no,
sure.
absolutely not.
All right,
No,
all right, all
no.
right.
I'm just no, 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 no. I'm saying with the understanding that you have like your draw is so strong that somebody will spend their savings and risk their relationship for a photo with you. That is power that you must wield carefully. That's it.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. I'm not mad at that. I will
That's it.
accept that with the also understanding of they only have that power because of you.
Yes, 100%.
So
I'm with you.
so once you gave them that power, you also gave them that freedom to handle it however they wanted because you could have worked to put yourself in that situation that they're in.
And
Maybe
you could
there's some
just not,
opportunities
and
they
you
might
could
got.
just not, you could just not
You
follow them.
could just not follow them.
You could just not follow
You
them.
You and when I say when I'm saying you, or hopefully if people understand when we're saying you, this is going to the mass majority. We could
Yeah.
have put a teacher in that same position.
Yeah, anybody.
Firefighter, politician. We could have put somebody that is educated and whatever, all those good trophies in that position. But you pick them.
We
So
see, we sticking with celebrities because that's who y'all pick. But yeah, man. Yeah, man. That was it. Just a quick little. We was having that conversation. And I was like, yo, this is a good little one-off. We might as well go ahead and hop on camera right quick.
Don't be confused, y'all. Don't be confused. Nico has a couple names on some bullets. We just didn't say the names just yet because that might be a later conversation. But some of y'all, even Ray's gonna admit, some of y'all do need to be talked to.
Yeah.
Some of y'all do need to be talked to on
Yeah.
whatever it is that you putting out here for the
Yeah, we're gonna get to y'all on the next episode. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
Don't worry about it. We're gonna get to y'all. But for now, we appreciate y'all for tapping in. Keep it a buck, keep it a bean, keep it clean. We out.